Good evening, everyone. I hope you're doing well. My name is Seth Matthews. I'm the Associate Dean for the Human Services Program here at SNHU. And for the remainder of the term, I'll be your instructor for the HSE 320 course. Um, Very glad to have the chance to work with you. And I appreciate the patience that you're showing in allowing me to get things caught up for you. And with that in mind, I have had the opportunity to go in and grade the week one discussion posts. My plan is to have all the grading caught up for you by Friday evening. Okay, and it looks like I may be able to get it done a little faster than that. Um, just as I appreciate your patience, I want to extend you mine. So, what you'll notice is I have taken no late penalties off for anything that's already been submitted. And if you have outstanding work that you plan on getting in, let me know and we can work something out. Okay. We're going to try to get everything kind of back to normal as of Monday, but I recognize things have been a little unusual for the first couple of weeks of the course, and I would certainly respect that as I get up to speed, and as you adjust to having the new instructor. Okay. Communication is key. If you have a worry or a concern, I just want to make sure you send that to me at Seth at s.matthews@snhu.edu. You can find that in the class list in the toolbar within the course, as well as in my introduction announcement. Okay. So, uh, discussion board one. Really, really well overall. Really, very good overall. What you'll notice from the grading is one of my big things is it's references, right? We're in a college course, so anytime we're making an assertion or making a point, we have to make sure that we're including references. Now, this can be the reference that we use to formulate our idea. Okay, I didn't know much about nonprofits, but I read from the text, and this is what I learned. And this is the source of my learning. If you already know, and many of you do, we're a lot of adult learners in our program that are working within the human services field. If you already know it, that's great. You can make that assertion from your knowledge. You just got to then find a supporting reference that supports what you know. And the reason for that is the whole idea of learning is in college level is to challenge what we know and to grow. So if we're not doing the reading and we're not referencing the reading that we're doing, then that knowledge that we may already possess isn't growing. Okay, so that's why really the heavy emphasis on discussions. So just take that forward in future assignments, okay? And that does include discussion post. Your initial post for every board, just like the rubric said, should include references, okay? Now, two major kind of things we normally see in this class in regards to misconception about nonprofits, okay? So number one, nonprofits are not solely staffed by volunteers. Okay, there are nonprofits that are exclusively staffed by volunteers, and there are nonprofits that have some volunteers, right? But the majority of nonprofits are paying people, right? They're paying professionals. So think back to your agency exploration days in your HSE 101 class that all of you have taken, right? When we're looking at those agencies, and I actually think some of you were in my HSE 101 class in the past, but one of the things that we explored in those agency explorations is that we've got agencies that are government, agencies that are private for profit, and agencies that are private not for profit. And a lot of those agencies can then provide the same services. So a not-for-profit mental health agency, for instance, will still charge for services, will still bill Medicaid and insurance. The difference is at the end of the day, any excess funding coming into the agency in a for-profit will go to the owner, the founder, or the stockholders. Okay. Any excess money coming into a nonprofit goes back into the nonprofit, right? It does not go into the pockets of a shareholder or owner. And that's the primary difference. We can make money as nonprofits. All of us right now are participating in a massive nonprofit organization, and that's Southern New Hampshire University. There are for-profit colleges. We are a non-for-profit college. Okay, but of course we still charge because we have to pay our instructors and our transcript reviewers and our academic advisors. We got to pay all these people for their expertise. But at the end of the day, any excess funding goes back into the organization to support the community that we're supporting. Okay, so that's one thing that we want to make sure that we get out of the way early on is that volunteers are a big part of the nonprofit world, but that it's not exclusive. Okay, and we really did touch on the other piece of it, which is that funding sources. Lots of you guys talked about donations being the only funding source for nonprofits, and that's really it's understandable where that misconception comes from. So if we're looking at a street agency, I'll use an example. When I first started in the mental health field, I worked in a small town in Arkansas, and there were two mental health agencies within the community. One was for profit and one was not for profit, and they were about 3 blocks away from each other. And they offered the same service and they charged the same fees. Okay. Now, why? Why are they charging the same fees? Because both of them were primarily in this small rural town in Arkansas billing Medicaid. to provide for services for folks who needed mental health services in this community. The for-profit agency was billing Medicaid. The not-for-profit was billing Medicaid. They were still charging the same amount per client. Okay, the client was still paying the same copay. At the end of the day, the for-profit, if they had $10,000 left in the bank at the end of the month after they paid their people and their expenses and their overhead and their facilities, and it hopefully paid into an emergency fund for any future interruptions in services or in funding. After that, the owner of that company took that 10,000 home, right? That was their money. Right, it's a little more complicated how the investiture works, but that's at the end of the day. At the end of the day, if the nonprofit agency had $10,000 left, that went back into their facilities, that went back into their emergency fund, that went back into future pay raises, that went back into the employee retirement plan. Okay, so just want to make sure that we're understanding that differentiation as we're moving forward. We're going to be talking about different types of agencies as we go forward. We're going to be talking about different types of challenges that they face, and what you're going to see is there's a whole wide array of different types of human services organizations that we're going to be exploring that are out there in the field. Any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to me, s.matthews@snhu.edu, and I look forward to getting to know you and learning with you as we move forward. Have a great night.